Welcome to a playoff edition of Bills by the Numbers, where we let the stats tell you where the Bills are at. We're presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more as we dive into this wild card matchup. What are the defining separators in Bills versus Jaguars? What do the quarterback numbers tell us? And we'll have our one burning question. It's playoff time. Let's ride. Glad you could stop by and see us here on Bills by the Numbers. He is Bills Hall of Famer Steve Tasker. I'm Bills play-by-play man Chris Brown. And Buffalo has qualified for the playoffs for a 7th straight season. The only team to do so in the NFL over that stretch, but for the first time in 6 seasons, they will begin their playoff run on the road. The last time they did that was also against an AFC South opponent, the Houston Texans, where a 16-8 lead at the end of the third quarter disappeared and wound up being a 22-19 loss in overtime to end their season. This time around, it's a surging Jacksonville team that has won 8 straight to finish their season with a signature win on the road at Denver, the AFC's top seed in Week 16, 34-20. 2 things the Jaguars do exceptionally well: stop the run, where they are first in the league, allowing just 85 yards on the ground per game, and taking the ball away. They are second in the league in total takeaways with 31. Not that the Bills had a choice, but do you think the Jaguars are a favorable matchup for Buffalo in light of those figures?
No, I think they're a tough matchup. In fact, we've talked about it on the Daily Show. This may be the toughest game of the playoffs for the Bills. This matchup is tough. Now, that doesn't mean there's not good teams, and the Patriots or the Broncos or the Texans or anybody else are a good team and have the ability to beat the Bills. I mean, any of these teams could win these games. But as a matchup, the Jaguars are coming into the playoffs on a heater. They've got a really good quarterback, and that's the spot where you begin all of these matchups. Mm-hmm. Certainly, Josh matches up with anybody, but Trevor Lawrence, even if you put Josh as a better quarterback, the gap is not as wide as it is for the other guys. And their defense is playing extremely well, as you said, and their ability to get turnovers. I mean, the Bills benefited from that last year, got them all the way to the AFC Championship game. So that's a trait.
Yeah.
And it seems like it goes season by season. Certainly, it doesn't have to go. But if you're in a season where you're turning them out, you kind of count on it. And it kind of comes to be a characteristic rather than this random number. So, yeah, this is a tough matchup for the Bills, no question about it.
Yeah, and I think they're running into a team that is brimming with confidence. They're going to be in their own building. So somehow, some way, the Bills have to squash that and put some doubt in the minds of the Jaguars early on, preferably. Because if you let them get out in front and continue on the roll that they've been on the last 2 months, that will spell problems. That'll be a difficult thing to overcome. So I think, putting some doubt in the minds of the Jaguars early will serve the Bills very well through the course of that football game. Taking a look at the quarterback statistics on Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence, we find that Allen is superior in completion percentage by almost 10%, 69.3 to Lawrence's 61. Lawrence threw more touchdown passes, 29 to Allen's 25, but Allen has one more total touchdown with 39 to Lawrence's 38. Where you see a bit more of a difference between the two quarterbacks is on the money down and in crunch time. On third down, Josh Allen has a 67% completion percentage to Lawrence's 57%. And Lawrence has 5 interceptions on third down this season, while Allen has 3. As a result, Allen's passer rating is 12 points higher on third down, 96.8 to 84.5. And in the fourth quarter, Allen is the third best quarterback in the league with a 110.8 rating. Buffalo signal caller, 70% completion percentage in the final frame with 8 touchdowns and 2 picks. He also averages almost 9 yards an attempt in the fourth quarter. Lawrence is the 38th rated quarterback in the fourth quarter with a rating of 74.1, completing just under 52% of his passes in the fourth quarter, averages just over 6 yards an attempt, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I realize I threw a lot of numbers out there at people. All you got to know is Allen, third-rated quarterback in the league in the fourth quarter. Lawrence, 38th. The thing that really stands out, though, in both areas is the completion percentage, Steve. Allen, 10% better on third down and almost 20% better in the fourth quarter. What conclusions do you draw from those numbers as it pertains to this wild card?
You can chalk some of it, if you're going to try and spin this in favor of the Jacksonville team or either way. You can say, listen, Jacksonville was on a heater the last 8 games of the season. He didn't have to throw the football very much in the fourth quarter. They're winning games, although they were in some tight games. We've seen this, and I think Josh's critics tend to poo-poo these numbers, particularly these fourth quarter numbers, because they've always got this thing where they just revert back to, well, he's never won the championship game. He's never gone to the Super Bowl. He's never done this. I told Brownie this, and I say it all the time. Nobody plays as well as Josh Allen in the big moments. Nobody. Not Mahomes, not Lamar, not Burrow. Nobody. Nobody currently playing in the league plays better in crunch time than Josh. And that's we talked a little bit about this in the Daily Show. There's been a little bit of contention fatigue here, I think, particularly early in the season here when they got off to a 4-0 start, and they're like, we still have 13 games to play before we can play one that matters.
Yeah.
We're going. They knew after the first month of the season they were going to the playoffs, and all they had to do is wait. Well, they're finally here. You would expect them to have a gear they have not shown consistently throughout the year. And certainly we know that their quarterback has that gear. That's what these numbers tell you.
Yeah, and the completion percentage, the swath of space between these two quarterbacks, I mean, I don't know if you can explain away a 20% difference in completion percentage in the fourth quarter.
I don't know.
I know Jaguars have been ahead a lot in the fourth quarter. They've won games by decided point margins because I think since week 10 they lead the league in point differential. They're like a plus 153. That does not explain that level of inefficiency for me. That, coupled with the fact that Lawrence hasn't been to the playoffs in 3 seasons, and the last time he was there, he threw 5 picks in 2 games. I think that says something. I don't know that you can bank on Trevor Lawrence the way you can bank on Josh Allen in the postseason when he elevates his game.
Yeah, the point differential.
I'm not trying to knock Lawrence, but I'm just saying he's not Allen.
Something's right. Yeah, there's something in that. The Chargers, starting with the Chargers game where the Chargers only hung up 6 points on this Jacksonville team on the road on a 1:00 game coming from the West Coast.
You're talking about earlier this season?
Right.
Yeah.
So you look back at this 8-game, and I don't want to poke. Well, I'm poking holes in it. They gave up. They won by 29 points against the Chargers, which was a good win, except it's that old thing where the West Coast team coming to the East Coast playing on a 1:00 game is notoriously a difficult time slot. Then they played Arizona, struggling team. They won by 3. They played Tennessee Titans twice. They played the Indianapolis Colts twice after the Indianapolis Colts were in flames. Then they played the Jets. So the Cardinals, the Titans twice, the Colts twice is not a gauntlet. If they are a good team and the Jacksonville Jaguars are a good team, they should have been winning big on those teams, and they did. They beat the Jets by 28. They beat the Colts by 6. And then they beat them by 17, the first match. They beat the Titans by 34 on the final game of the season when the Titans were done. They also beat the Titans by 22 earlier in the season, week 13, when the Titans were not going to the playoffs. Okay. You're supposed to beat teams like that.
Right.
And that's why their point differential is what it is. The Bills played their backups. They played their backups in the same stretch. And let's remember, what the Bills did by beating the Jets by, by 27 points. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. We know that this matchup is more than just the quarterback, so taking a deeper look at the surrounding cast, obviously James Cook, as the league's leading rusher, gives Buffalo a great 1-2 punch with Allen. But Travis Etienne had over 1,100 yards on the ground for Jacksonville this season. In the pass game, these two teams are quite similar, with neither team having an alpha male pass-catching threat. Both have balanced receiving cores with a quality receiving tight end, Kincaid for Buffalo, Brenton Strange for the Jaguars. Even though Parker Washington led the Jags in receiving yards, Jacoby Myers, a trade deadline pickup, has been a force multiplier for their passing game. He's been huge on in-breaking routes in the middle of the field, a trade deadline pickup. So Jacksonville leans on their pass game a bit more than Buffalo does, as they throw it 55% of the time. Meanwhile, Buffalo, updated, second in the NFL in run percentage at 50.5%. So what grabs your attention most with some of these figures, Steve?
Well, I think the thing that grabs me is the Bills' ability, when teams know they've got James Cook, when they know he's going to run the ball, when they know they want to, the Bills are still able to run the ball half the time. It'll be interesting to see if Jacksonville feels like they need to do anything to bolster what is already a good run defense. Are the Bills going to be able to give productive enough in the run game to force Jacksonville to double down on their run defense, and thereby giving Josh a chance to throw the football a little better and more effectively? The health of the wide receiving room has been an issue all year. It's been a revolving door, not only because of injuries to Palmer, to Sanders, all these guys, but also to Kincaid. It's just been a revolving door out there. So if they can get a little healthier and come out healthier than they have been, perhaps that's the kind of boost the passing game needs, that they don't have to run the football more than half the time. But that's the question of this game. Number one run defense against the number one run offense, and it's a number one run offense that doesn't go away from it. You can't scare them off it.
Yeah, and what I will say is Jacksonville's defense is a speed-oriented defense that is designed to fly to the football, and the first tackler usually gets them on the ground. They do not give up many yards, either A, after contact in the ground game, or B, after the catch in the receiving game. The offenses that Jacksonville has struggled with the most are the big personnel offenses. San Francisco, they put tight ends on the field. The Bills, we know, use 2, 3 tight ends. Those are the offenses that Jacksonville struggles with more. You go big against them, you can sustain drives and finish in the end zone. So I think that is one area where Buffalo has an edge on a defense that has been very good this season. So I'm hopeful that the Bills will stick with what has worked for them for the balance of the season and continue to go 12 personnel, 13 when necessary, and hell, jumbo if you want to with Alec Anderson.
Right.
When it comes to the two defensive units, the Jaguars have a solid group, but they do have trouble generating a consistent pass rush, which is strange because if you have the number one run defense, you should be putting opponents in obvious passing situations, but they have just 32 sacks on the season and rank 30th in sacks per play. Even Buffalo's defense has more sacks than Jacksonville with 36, and the Bills are 14th in sacks per play. Both teams, both teams have had their share of problems getting off the field on third down. They each surrender third down conversions just over 40% of the time, and they are identical when it comes to red zone defense. They have both given up exactly 28 touchdowns on 47 red zone possessions for a touchdown percentage of 59.6% allowed. So what do you make of the Jacksonville struggle to generate an effective pass rush? And it seems like their defense has some similar problems to that of the Bills when it comes to third down.
Well, I'll say I think one of the reasons is it might be that they get enough pressure because that helps them in churning out turnovers, which is what they're really good at. I think the turnover number wipes out a lot of problems for their defense. Ball security is going to be huge for the Buffalo Bills offense when it comes to this game. And I think that stat, we saw it last year. You just don't worry about your pass rush when you're chopping the ball out on fumbles or picking it off.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that ball security can really highlight more. If they can't get turnovers, they're going to start to feel a little bit defenseless in the passing game because of their fact that they can't get to Josh. But it starts with ball security. That's my take.
Josh has been sacked 40 times this season, and I don't think it's been necessarily a breakdown in the quality of the pass protection that Buffalo has had this season. I think Josh has been hesitant to throw the ball away this year. On first down, second down, third down. He has not thrown it away to live for another play as much as he has in the past, and hopefully with Joe Brady having Josh self-scout himself last week, it will encourage him to throw the ball away and live for another down rather than take a 10-yard loss and put your team in a much more difficult situation to sustain a drive.
Right.
And look, I'm not dismissing Josh Hines-Allen. He has always been a problem for the Bills over the years. He was a menace in that 9-6 game back in 2021. He was a problem in the London game in 2023 that the Bills lost to the Jags. So I'm not dismissing him or the number one pick in the draft a couple of years ago, Trayvon Walker, who is a 6'5", 272-pound condor coming off the edge for Jacksonville on the other side. You got to respect those guys, but I think Josh just has to be mindful of throwing the ball away and living for 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 5 instead of creating a 2nd and 20 or a 3rd and 15. Finally, we know points. Sorry, I'm struggling here.
No, you're doing good.
We know points are the thing that decides games. Overall, the Bills were 5th in total point differential at plus 116. Jaguars were 4th at 138. And since week 11, Jags are the first in the NFL at plus 153 on their 8-game winning streak. But the Bills are the best second-half team in the league in point differential, plus 127. Jacksonville ranks 7th at a plus 37 in the second half. Any kind of advantage here for Buffalo if the results from the regular season hold to form?
Well, yeah, I mean, the game's not over until the second half ends. It's not over when the first half ends. So you got to hang tough with them and get through this first half and keep it close. If these numbers hold to form. Buffalo has been a notoriously, I don't want to say a slow starting team. There have been games where they've started slow, but I think because of the way they have performed in the second half, it makes it seem like the first half is slower anyway, right? There have been games when they've been shut out, particularly the Eagles game, right? But for the most part, they play so well in the second half. You know, you look at that New England game.
Right.
The Bills were struggling on both sides of the ball in that New England game. They gave up big plays, and particularly the offense of the Patriots. But I think it exacerbates what, it even widens the perceived margin between their first and second half. I don't think they're as much of a different team in the first and second half, but they do some things better, and certainly do adjust very well at halftime and coming out after halftime. If that holds true to form, I don't know that there's a lead that I would feel comfortable with if I'm Jacksonville going into halftime.
Right. At the same time, you have to believe the Bills don't want to rely on that, their second half prowess. I don't think they want to rely on that in a playoff game. I think they'd obviously like to get off to a strong start in this game, or any playoff game for that matter, because you're playing better teams in the postseason. And, coming back on a team of that quality is more difficult in the playoffs than it might be in the regular season, even though, to Steve's point, they have done it against playoff caliber teams like New England. I think in the grand scheme of things, don't have a fat deficit at halftime that you have to rally the troops and, have some monster second half effort. You're just making life harder for yourself overall. So hopefully they don't have to resort to that kind of a second half comeback, but we know it's there if they absolutely need it.
It's not, and talking like we do, and everybody talks the exact same way that we do. They can't rely on coming back. They're not trying to rely on anything. They're trying to win the game in the first half. They're trying to score so many points that the other team gives up. I mean, they're trying to do that.
Right.
They're not thinking, okay, we'll get this together later on. That's not the mindset of an NFL football team ever, in any case, in any scenario. They're coming out and trying to get off to a fast start. And they have to adjust to what is another good football team is trying to accomplish against them. They got to react to that and adjust to it and get out in front. They have not, in too many games, they have not been able to come out and attack the other team in a way that the other team is caught off guard. You don't come out faster than the other team is able to come out fast. And it's going to be even exacerbated by the fact that you're on a road against a really good football team in the playoffs who's on a heater. It's going to exacerbate their ability to start fast, you would think. It doesn't mean it has to be that way. So the Bills never... It's not their strategy to lay down in the first half and then adjust and then come out firing. That's never the strategy. That's the way it looks to, us fans out here.
Right.
So don't get the mentality or even talk about it like we do about them saying they're just going to wait and see what happens in the first half, because nobody does that.
To illustrate how close many expect this wild card game to be, not only do the odds makers have it with a 1-point spread, but ESPN analytics people in their football power index give the Bills a 49.1% chance to advance to the divisional round and the Jaguars a 50.9% chance to advance to the divisional round. It's essentially a coin flip game in the eyes of the analytics people. Let's flip things over to the numbers game, where Steve will be quizzed on Bills wild card history. Here we go. Question number 1, Steve. How many wild card games have the Bills played in team history, not counting this Sunday?
All right.
He's working through the years.
5.
It's a lot more than that.
Really? Oh, 10.
It's a little bit more. It's 13.
Really?
13 wild card games, and this will be the 14th on
I had
Sunday.
no idea.
Question number 2. What would you guess to be the Bills' average points per game in wild card games?
20.
It's higher.
Really? 23.
A little bit more.
Really? 26?
It's 27.7 points per game.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I mean, you have your 41-38 wild card win.
Right.
The comeback
game.
You got Josh rolling up points, 47-17,
Oh, yeah.
perfect game. Like, there's some fat numbers in there.
Yeah, I mean, we had the 16 or 19 points in Houston.
17-10 over Houston.
Then the
in 88.
10-3 game in Jacksonville or whatever. Is it whatever?
Right, 3 points.
So, yeah, that 27's a fat number with those games
I know.
sprinkled in.
Question number 3. What current Bills player is tied for third in team history in wild card game receptions? Current Bills player. He's tied for third in team history in wild card game receptions.
Dawson Knox.
You nailed it, Steve. He's got 14. Well done.
Got one.
Got one. And question 4. What current Bills player holds the franchise mark for most rushing yards in wild card games?
Josh Allen.
It is Josh Allen.
Give me some.
352 rushing yards.
Finishing with a flurry. Let's go.
In case you were wondering, James Cook is third with 238 rushing yards in wild card games.
Nice.
Well, you know the current team anyway.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Can't remember the others.
Bills fans, get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Just download the app today to play any way you want. Plus, with live betting, you'll get updated odds on games that have already started. Best of all, you'll get paid your winnings fast. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Buffalo Bills. Time now for our one burning question. Over the last 4 years, the 3 lower-seeded wildcard teams, the 5, 6, and 7, have gone 0-12. Not a single victory. The last time a lower wildcard team in the AFC won was in 2020, when 6-seeded Cleveland upset 3-seed Pittsburgh and 5-seed Baltimore upset 4-seed Tennessee. Will this postseason wildcard round be more like 2020? And if so, why?
I think it could be because of the way the teams are built and the guys taking snaps. You can make a case for the AFC in particular with the Jaguars and the Bills, Chargers, Patriots. Chargers, Patriots. It's going to be a rough. It's later in the day. This 1 p.m. thing is not going to be a factor for the Chargers. They'll play better.
East, right.
Justin Herbert is every bit physically as capable and probably a better passer than Drake May. The home field is real. But Drake May is a complete quarterback. He can run the football, picks his spots well, great decision maker. But certainly the Bills-Jaguars is going to be a really good matchup between two teams. An experienced Bills team that is coming down the stretch has been waiting for the playoffs for quite some time, like I said. And this Jaguars team is playing as well as any team in the NFL right now, particularly offensively. So, Josh Allen is a better than a wild card quarterback, right? He's defending MVP, and he's got a gear nobody else does. And this Bills team has a gear that, while it's been inconsistent, it's there. It's under the hood. And I think you're going to get their best effort. So, yeah, I think it could be one of those games where at least one of these two teams can upset in the wild card.
I think we could be looking at a weekend where 2 of the lower-seeded teams win. I think the Chargers have a favorable matchup with New England because they do not have a very good pass rush. So for a Chargers team that doesn't have each of their offensive tackles, I don't think it's as glaring a problem against a Patriots team that struggles to get after the quarterback. And I also believe that the Texans can be a problem for a Steelers team with a quarterback who isn't as mobile as he used to be. I realize that the Texans defense doesn't look as fierce on the road as they do in their own building, but to me, that's a problem. That's a problem for the Steelers, so I could easily see them winning too. And, we know this Bills-Jaguars game, everybody says it's a coin flip game. I'm banking on 17 in this one, kind of rising up and being the better quarterback in this matchup. I think Trevor Lawrence has had a fantastic season. It's just hard for me to believe his level of play is going to look every bit as good in the postseason. Yeah. And as you have said many times before, Steve, in this league, it is hard to sustain an elite level of play for more than 2 months. Guess what? The Jags have played elite for 2 months. That time might be up.
When we're trying, and that's what we do. I mean, on these podcasts and everybody around the country, there's 9 gazillion NFL podcasts, 9 networks with all their guys on, and they all try and predict how these games are going to go. When you're trying to predict it, you're looking at Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence in this game. Josh Allen, you figure it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a playoff game. It's going to be on the road in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has played extremely well down the stretch. But when you look at when the game's going to matter in the fourth quarter, you've seen it, and he's proven it time and time and time again. Josh Allen, you know what you're going to get. You don't really know, or at least Trevor Lawrence hasn't proven it the way Josh Allen has proven it. Certainly, Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback, no question about it. But man, oh man, there are some holes in the analysis of his game that we've talked about here that are not there in Josh Allen. So if it does come down to that, you got to give Buffalo that edge. That doesn't say that Jacksonville doesn't have a really good team, they're playing at home.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at. I'm with you, Brownie. You know you're going to get what you're going to get from Josh, and you're only kind of sure. You think you're going to get what you're going to get from Trevor Lawrence.
And as we outlined earlier, the fourth quarter passing numbers are not super encouraging when it comes to Trevor Lawrence's play in the regular season.
I say it? You just got to play well on that day.
Got to play well on that day. Our closing figure. Oh, let's try that again. Our closing figure examines teams that go into the playoffs on long winning streaks. The Jaguars, as we've said, have won 8 in a row to finish their regular season. The last 13 teams to enter the postseason on an 8-game winning streak or more have failed to win the Super Bowl, and 6 of those 13, almost half, have failed to win a single playoff game. That'll do it for this edition.
Way to go, Brownie. You got through it.
Holy
you can
cow.
tell Brownie's not feeling it today, but he got through it. That's awesome.
That'll do it for this edition. Make sure you subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're using so you know when our next episode drops, or watch us on the Bills YouTube channel, because when you need to know about the Bills, you need to check Bills by the Numbers. For Steve Tasker, I'm Chris Brown. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time, everybody.